This is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and hitting subscribe on your friend's phone without them knowing. Coming to you from the Kitchen Studios in downtown Raleigh. This episode is sponsored in part by Spot On, tech that helps your business grow. Request a demo at spoton.com. And Joe Van Gogh Coffee, serving the community from seed to cup, taking particular care at every step to honor the bean. And now, they can't cook and they don't clean, but they love to tell you how it's done. It's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today, if you live by the adage, waste not, want not, then this is the episode for you, because we have the sisters of this great company called Food Waste Feast. They are here joining us from Boston, Massachusetts. One, Irene Li, and her sister sitting in studio, Mei Li.
Super excited to be here. Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hey, so welcome. Yeah, come in. This is fun. I think this is one of the first times we've done I don't know if we've done a podcast with someone in studio and definitely not in Boston at the same time, but it's nice. And sisters to boot. I was talking to my wife about you. She brought you and your sister, Mei, to our attention because she was working with you on a feature you were doing for Our State magazine. She was shooting it, I guess, and you were cooking and doing something particular. She was like, they are fascinating. You must meet them and what they're doing and all. But as Matt said from the top, your company is called Food Waste Feast. What's your brand about? What are you doing?
Yeah, so Irene and I both run this. So I guess it's kind of a project. It's an upcoming cookbook going to be released May 2023 with Norton. We try to help people use up the perfectly good food that they have sitting in their fridges and their pantries and freezers, help people waste less food. I mean, there's some great resources and cookbooks out there for people cooking their scraps, but sometimes like you're not even getting to those kale stems. You've got 2 bunches of kale wilting in your fridge, and we want to help you cook it, save it, eat it, and also like be a more creative cook. I think the thing about cooking from recipes and everything, it's always great. You know, you're going to get something fantastic, but then it's hard to be creative if you're used to following recipes. So we're really about getting people more comfortable cooking at home and using up the things that they've already spent money on.
I love this idea. And I have to call out my wife here because she loves to throw things out. It's been in the fridge for a couple of days, leftovers, can't use it, throw it out. She hates clutter.
Oh, Felicia too.
Yeah. And so imagine if she could like creatively put these into something that can cook. So like, what are some of the examples? Like give us stuff that, people usually have in their fridge that they're waste or sitting there as leftovers, and then you could cook it into something.
Oh man, so much stuff. I mean, I like to open my crisper drawer and just kind of go through it. And Irene and I will do this for our friends and family. This is a service we like to perform.
Can you come to our house?
Yes,
and do it?
100%.
Yes, okay.
Just go open up the crisper drawer and people are like, oh, there's nothing in my fridge to eat. I'm like, you've got, 5 different vegetables here. You've got a fridge full of condiments. I can put that all into a stew or a frittata or a casserole. We've got these things we call hero recipes, and the idea is that like these will rescue anything that you can come up with. You can put everything in frittata. So it's fun to just get people thinking about ways that they can use up the things they already have.
Hero recipes.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the book?
So we're still playing around with the name of the book. Could be hero recipes, could be Food Waste Feast. We'll see.
Okay. And I saw you can even do this on your website. If you Google Food Waste Feast, you can go and put in anything that you have in your fridge and you don't know, and it'll give you a bunch of recipes.
Exactly. And what we try to encourage people to do is think about things in categories. So you might be really used to cooking with carrots, for example, and then maybe you get a box of vegetables and you have a kohlrabi and you're like, I don't even know what this weird looking alien vegetable is. And the idea is that it's a root vegetable. You can cook it similarly or put it in a slaw similarly to you would carrots or beets or any other similarly textured vegetable. So if you kind of get used to the idea of swapping and substituting, which is something that a lot of trained chefs know how to do, but a lot of people at home might not be as familiar with, then it's much easier to use up the things you have.
Yeah. How did you guys come up with this concept? What's the genesis of it?
So Irene and our older brother and I started a food truck back in Boston in, wow, what is that, Irene? 10 years ago? Did we just celebrate our 10th anniversary of the food truck?
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. So the food truck became a restaurant, and the restaurant became a dumpling company. Gone through many shifts over the years, and with the pandemic and everything. And we also wrote a cookbook. It's called Double Awesome Chinese Food.
Wait, and the name of the food truck is?
Mei Mei.
And that's your name twice?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, how'd you get double billing?
Irene, why don't you talk about the name of the restaurant and food truck?
Mei Mei means little sister in Mandarin Chinese, and Mei and our brother Andy are 8 and 9 years older than I am. So for a long time, Mei was the only Mei Mei in the family, and then I came along and stole her title. But basically, it was our brother's idea to open the food truck. He had been watching way too much Food Network, and is like, "This is the trend. Let's go." And he asked Mei and I what we thought, and we were kind of like, "Sounds great. Are you going to be the chef?" And then, he agreed to let us move home and help him out. And, his two very bossy sisters demanded that we receive all the credit for starting that business. And so, yes, the truck and the business is named after both of us. But even more so than that, I think I love languages where you have special names for people who are like your dad's older sister versus your mom's younger sister, or big brother, big sister, little sister, all of that. It's about relationships. And you can't be a Mei Mei without a Jia Jia and a Gogh. So it's kind of it just reminds you that we're all family and we're all connected to each other. And that's what makes us who we are.
I have 2 daughters myself, and my youngest daughter calls my oldest daughter Sissy, right? Sissy, Sissy. And so Sissy, Alexander, my older daughter, she laughed. She goes, Charlotte, it's funny. You call me Sissy when you're being sweet and kind, but you also call me Sissy when you're super mad at me, which makes me laugh because it's hard to take someone serious when they're like, "Stop doing that to me, Sissy!" and freaking out. It's just a silly term of endearment.
That's exactly what we sounded like over 10 years of trying to run a restaurant and a food truck together. So there was definitely some yelling like that.
For sure.
Yeah, my youngest son calls his big brother Cam Baba.
Oh.
But we can't figure out if that came from Big Bro when he couldn't say that, or if that's because we call him Bubba, and then it's Baba.
Well, that's
so
weird.
I call my youngest son, we call him Bubba too.
Bubba, yeah.
My brother, his nickname I just call him Bro, but my cousin calls him Baba.
Huh.
Yeah. And now because they're 50 and 58, she just calls him Bob.
Baba. Yeah.
No, she just calls him Bob.
Yeah.
Even though
that
his
makes
name's
sense.
Phil.
Yeah,
But
you can't walk around calling a grown man Baba. But we're wondering how long that'll last. But he much like your daughters, he has to say it at the beginning of when he refers to him and at the end of him, just so he knows he's referring to him.
Baba, stop punching me, Baba!
Exactly. That's exactly how it sounds.
That was exactly what our encounter sounded like running a restaurant.
Yeah.
Stop punching me.
Yeah.
Stop punching me, May.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But yeah, major sidetrack.
I'm just kidding. No, but so May, you're now in Raleigh here. Of course, you're here in person. But Irene, you're the chef. You're running operations up there, and you had taken over. You were kind of staying on as the chef of the truck, and then into the restaurant as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, chef is kind of a strong word for what I do, but the truck over the years started doing more and more catering. The restaurant went through some evolution, and now post-COVID, we've turned all of it into a consumer packaged dumpling company. And so we have an incredible team that really has gotten us through the pandemic and is setting us up to grow. And I work on a couple of other projects now as well. So I don't get to handle our food very much. I'm doing the most home cooking I've done in about a decade. So May's tips and tricks are very useful for me at this point.
Your consumer packaged dumplings, are they sold directly through you, or where are they sold through? And anywhere you can, grocery stores, etc.
So right now we're still fully direct to consumer. So we do ship across the country. Shipping is so crazy right now, though. So it might be more cost effective to buy a ticket to Boston and then eat lots of food there. But we sell at about 50 area farmers markets in Massachusetts. And then you can also still come to our storefront. We don't have a dining room anymore, but you can pick up dumplings there.
You know who doesn't have to go back to Boston? The Hurricanes.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. Anyhow.
This is going to be weeks later, though.
I know.
Meyer may not have lost to the Rangers. So. You might have just stuck
This is happening before game one of the Rangers. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so
But this is I had to make this point because I was looking through your bios and I was noticing that you all, the siblings and all came up, your brother at least, came up with this idea to start doing all this food and food trucks and all that. But you had so much education to where I've got to think like your family would have been like, wait a minute, you have, and let me just read this, and my eyes are so bad. But Irene holds a BA in Food Systems and Cultural Studies from Cornell University and is on the board of several food and farming related nonprofits in the New England area. And Mei holds an MBA in Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Design from the Imperial College of London and a BA in Urban Studies and Community Organization from Stanford. And you're like, cool, we're done with all that school. Let's make dumplings.
Yeah, hilarious.
To
get our mom's opinion on this.
Yeah, how mad are the parents at what you've decided to do? Well, at least initially.
Yeah.
So we couched moving home in being near to our parents and then also starting the food truck. So that helped because we were like, Mom, it's been so long. We think we want to just come back and be with you and Dad. So highly recommend that strategy.
And Mom and Dad are in Boston?
Yeah, Mom and Dad were in Boston.
Okay.
And I think that for our mom, like once she realized she could be a hard ass Chinese mom about whatever career we chose, like it didn't really matter what we were actually doing. She could still like micromanage us and like come into the restaurant and be like, those plants need to be watered. And I'd like a bowl of fritters for table 5, please. Once she kind of embraced that role and was agnostic about sort of what kind of work we were doing, I think she was pretty happy with it. But in addition to that, our dad's parents ran restaurants in Harlem and then in Westchester County in New York. And they were kind of the classic immigrant story where you move to this country and one of the only ways to make a living and support your family is to open a restaurant. And, of course, they did that so that their kids could become doctors and lawyers and physicists. And we come full circle with us. But I think that's part of what really inspired us to make Mei Mei not your average restaurant, not just in terms of the cuisine, but also how we think about labor, how we think about sourcing. And so we always felt like it was our responsibility to be pushing the envelope because we were coming into this with so much privilege. And obviously, we want to make our grandparents proud, even though they're not around anymore. So if we were struggling with the same things that they were, I would feel like our family hadn't made the progress. But I think that the way we've been able to run our business does reflect a lot of evolution, not just in our family, but in the industry more broadly.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting I had, been in business school and came back, and our brother had been in the restaurant industry for a decade, mostly front of house. But it was interesting coming at it from outside the industry, and it kind of relates all back to the food waste thing, where I was like, if we don't use these raw materials that we have, that we, our whatever 30% food cost, if that's getting put in the trash, we are just putting our money in the trash.
Yeah.
And how do we figure out how to use that up? And part of the way we designed our food truck from the beginning was making sure to be flexible with our ingredients. Like one of our most famous sandwiches, it's kind of this Boston famous sandwich called the Double Awesome, where the name of our cookbook came from.
Yep.
Yeah. It came from this, we called it a local greens pesto, where the idea is like, it's not expensive fresh basil and pine nuts and Parmesan. It was yellowed kale or like arugula with holes in it or whatever the farmers would give us, sometimes at great prices because like nobody else was buying this stuff that didn't look great, but was still totally fine to eat. And nobody's paying attention once you blend it all up into a green sauce.
And it's in a beautiful sauce.
Exactly.
Inhaling.
And like being flexible with stuff like that. Most chefs know about, saving your fish bones or your meat bones or whatever. There's so much flavor
Stocks,
there.
yep.
Yeah. That, home cooks can take those tips and really make the most of what they have. If people's grocery bills are getting higher these days, it's a great way to, you bought that food, you should be using it. And in the restaurant, like, you guys know how hard it is to run a restaurant and how easy it is for restaurants to not make it. If you're not making the most of your ingredients, then that's a really tough way to run a business.
Well, speaking about running a business and how hard it is to run a restaurant, and I want to hear more about how you guys got your culinary chops to write these cookbooks. But before, I want to help our friends who are trying to make it easier to run a business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so one of the companies that helps us run our business and that can help you run your business is called Spot On. They're a great friend of the show. And because what they do is they use their technology platforms to help you integrate your systems. So whether it's your front of the house POS systems, your inventory systems, your payroll systems, they can integrate all of that and make it super easy for you. They really tailor make it to your business. And you can do it from an app on your phone and from home, wherever is easiest and most convenient for you to get work done. So if you're trying to open up a business, a retail-facing restaurant business, call Spot On, and they have a local rep, and she's awesome. She's a great friend of ours, Tanya Manibo, and her phone number is 858-213-7820. That's 858-213-7820. Or if you feel more comfortable, shoot her an email. That's tanyam@spoton.com, TANYA@spoton.com.
And fully connected to the food waste connection is talking about things such as sustainability. And Joe Van Gogh's Papua New Guinea Kutta coffee is an exact explanation or interpretation of that. Because sustainability itself shows up in many ways, like how Joe Van Gogh roasts or brews or sources new coffee. When they source coffee that's grown by small shareholder farms, they strengthen the local smaller coffee communities. That's what we're drinking tonight, folks. Surprise and delight your loved ones with this coffee. The flavor notes of sweet chocolate, toffee, and a little brightness of papaya, and the warmth of allspice round it all out. It's a fantastic combination, sets the tone for any occasion. So get yourself some Joe Van Gogh Papua New Guinea Kutta coffee at joevangogh.com or at any of their locations throughout the Triangle. Hit them up or click the link in our show notes.
Yeah, this is delicious.
Isn't it
really
delicious?
is.
And thank you, Elizabeth, for brewing it so perfectly, expertly.
Seriously.
And,
Gets better every time.
Don't sleep on how you brew your coffee. Like, spend some time, get the Chemex.
Oh, yeah,
do a
I got the
pour
same
over,
setup.
Do something like this. Takes all that bitterness away. You just get all the flavor. Yeah. Anyhow.
So, we were talking, you were talking about, and I want to get back to that as well, this great concept, which I'm assuming came from your MBA and your business mind. See, Mom, you did use your education.
Yeah, exactly.
But, no offense, why should I believe what you guys are saying about how to make food or take recipes from you guys?
No offense is an excellent question.
It's always a great preemptive, too.
Yeah,
No
I
offense,
mean,
but I'm
no.
going to say something super lousy.
With all respect.
No, I think it's actually really interesting because none of us are, formally trained, went to culinary school. I would say we went to the culinary school of YouTube and reading lots of books and, talking to people who know way more about cooking than we do and doing a lot of cooking. Irene taught herself how to butcher a pig by watching YouTube videos, and then our mom went to Jamaica for the weekend, and Irene bought a 250-pound pig and broke it down on our mom's kitchen table.
Whoa.
So you can learn how to do a lot. Of stuff by watching videos.
Use your kitchen this weekend when you're gone?
It was like a full-on Dexter kill scene. It was amazing. I don't even know if they teach you how to do that in culinary school. So you can just make your own culinary education these days, and it's pretty cool to see what kind of things you come up with. But yeah, our family has always just cared about what tastes good and not necessarily about authenticity or the right way to do things. And I think that's a big thing in being flexible and using up the food that you have is not feeling like, oh, I can't do this because that's not the way it's typically done. It's, does this taste good to you? You're the one who's going to eat it.
Yeah.
So you make it the way that you like it. We try to give you maybe some structure and some encouragement, but it's not... you shouldn't feel limited because this is the so-called right way to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this question really captures what is so special about Food Waste Feast. Mei does most of the writing for it, but she gives me a little credit. But I want to say, Mei is so practical. She's so relatable. She's so non-judgmental about this stuff. And, there are high-end chefs who will say, you can only use veal bones and you have to make an egg white raft to clarify your stock. That is not practical stuff, right? And then there are also people on the zero waste side who are saying this is all the trash I produced in a year in a 1-quart mason jar. And that's not practical either, right? Like Mei has seen both sides of what the home kitchen's limitations are and also the techniques in a restaurant kitchen that you can really merge with that. Plus, she has kids. Cooking has to be fun. It has to taste good. And I think that's really what Food Waste Feast is about, is like threading that needle so that it's achievable. You don't have to feel bad if you do throw stuff out, but can we make cooking more fun, more delicious, and give you more satisfaction out of the process?
I assume you're a firm supporter of composting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Irene is actually a certified master composter, which I think is really cool. I'm like a compost newbie. I pay someone else to do it.
Could be a certified master composter.
Right? How cool is that?
You're just like really good at throwing things away.
Pretty much. Yeah. It's funny. It turns out at Cornell, you can like major in large animal veterinary science, and you can get 2 credits in composting. So that's what I did.
I was at my sister-in-law's house this weekend, and she bought this thing that basically helps to compost everything. Do you have a machine to compost, or what's a master composter? Like, how should I start composting?
Yeah, well, I think it really depends what your priorities are in terms of composting. Is it about getting food out of your trash because it's smelly and it's going to produce methane in a landfill? Is it about ending up with a usable soil for your garden, or is it like a combination of both of those things? So these countertop composters are really great for that first purpose, which is just reducing the amount of food and smelly crap that you're putting into your trash. What you get from it is not necessarily a usable compost product, but it's perfect for giving to a local composter. So it's kind of like pre-compost. And then if you're really into gardening, you can use worms, you can use a tumbler, you can do all different things to get a really rich product. But again, like composting is all about taking what you have and making sure you get the most out of it.
Yeah, this one in particular, and I can find the name, but it actually did both. Like you said, you can put it on a setting where it can make soils that you can put out in the garden, which to me, that seems the most like useful, sustainable thing.
Yeah.
We just do the compost now, where we just put it in a bin and then somebody picks it up once a week. And
do you pay for that service?
Yeah, we actually pay for that service. So to give my wife some credit, she does love throwing things away, but I think what brings her most joy is filling up the compost bin.
Yes.
Like she's just like, oh, look at all this food we're not going to eat. Let's throw it in there.
That's the great thing about a compost bin, is that you feel so much less guilt when that waste goes in. It's going to be of actual value.
And I do say, like, our trash, like our actual weekly trash, has minimized significantly.
Minimized, less smelly, and I will give a shout out for local people too. Wake County is piloting these food drop-off sites. So a lot of places around the county, you can drop off your food waste now, and that's going to go to a good like soil rejuvenating cause.
Right.
I want to get in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Irene.
Sorry. Just really quickly. Unfortunately, the countertop composters that tell you that they produce usable soil they're not.
Okay.
But we can get into that somewhere.
Matt's
Large
stock just went down.
Yeah.
I have one. So, far be it from me to be judgmental, but it produces like a dehydrated, ground up product, basically.
I see.
So if you put it on your plants, it'll mold.
Oh, okay. Don't use that then, because I have my cousins also, and they just do like the old school composting where they just separate anything that's compostable, and then I think they just like literally spread it on their garden.
You talking about Joel? He just throws it out in the backyard.
He's like, here you go.
I know, because I walked out and almost walked into all of his compost. I was like, did you just throw your trash out into your backyard? He's like, that's the compost bin.
Yeah. So that's where I'm confused. But it dawned upon me, Irene, the irony of where most people probably buy these things is like the Home Depot or Lowe's to buy these countertop composters, but yet they're also the ones selling you the potting soil. So it's like they're cutting, or maybe they're just getting you both ways.
Yeah, but listen, if anyone out there got taken in like me with my countertop composter, what they give you, obviously, it's dry, it's easy to store, it's compact, and then you can take it to a food waste drop-off site, and it's going to make perfectly good compost at the end of the day, just not in your kitchen.
Okay. And Max has a question loaded, but I'm genuinely interested. So what is the best way that I can turn it into soil then that I could potentially use for my garden?
If you're open to having worms in your house, vermicomposting is great because the particles of food are kind of perfectly primed for worms to consume. Or if you have like a backyard like bin composter, you can throw a combination of fresh food scraps and countertop soil, quote unquote, into that and continue the composting process.
Worms in the kitchen sounds like something Baba could throw at his younger brother.
Yeah. Baba, stop throwing me worms. Stop throwing Baba. Yeah.
All right. So I wanted to talk about this cookbook. I'm thumbing through the pages right now, and so just to start again, it's the Double Awesome Chinese Food. I love the subtitle here: Irresistible and Totally Achievable Recipes from Our Chinese American Kitchen, written by the three of you. Margaret.
Yeah, my government
May.
name.
Your government name, Margaret, not May. But looking through it, I mean, look, like there's just, I'm showing Matt like a great little segment of, how to make dumplings step by step. Or actually, that was scallion pancakes specifically. The Double Awesome, like lovely pictures of just the siblings all having fun and being silly. There's even pictures of the kids in there. It truly is like, it's what you would expect a brother and two sisters to write as a book. Like it's filled with love, and it also is filled with just
useful recipes
that you could really, really do. And I appreciate that. So when did this come out, for one?
So it was came into the world 3 days after my son, which is how I managed to keep track of it. He's almost 3.5. So like early 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually it was probably super helpful when everybody was on lockdown and they're just like sitting inside. It's like, what am I going to do and how am I going to make things? But also just expanding upon, like I told Matt when we were in quarantine, how I was getting so bored of food that just going to the local Trader Joe's or whatever, that just to make things different, I elected to just only shop at like the H Mart around the corner, just to like have a different pantry for a while, and so I just bought different ingredients as my base staples so that everything just tasted new now.
Great way to switch things up. And I'm jealous you have an H Mart around the corner. I love H Mart with a passion.
It's around someone's corner. But not my corner. I just have to drive all the way to Cary, but it's fine. That's not too bad. And it's good there because when you get in, then they've got like all the food already prepped, like the little food hall inside.
Oh man,
it's awesome.
The Korean fried chicken they have there. Oh. They've got like these crazy potato creations that I always want to try. But yeah, the food there is amazing, and there's like just tons of pre-prepped stuff. I'll go there and just get like a pound of marinated bulgogi beef, and then it's like amazing. Easy dinner.
That's my thing with Chinese food specific. Certain types of Chinese food seem really complicated to achieve, but then when you go to a Chinese market, you realize a lot of it's been prepped for you. So you're like, oh, I could do this. Oh, this isn't that hard. I don't
have to pickle the ginger.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love like in the Korean section, just getting like huge gallons of kimchi.
Totally.
Yeah, but that's a fun way to, and even kimchi in itself feels like part of a food waste.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the
addition,
pickles, everything, all those things. You can take the things in the back of your crisper drawer and turn them into pickles, and then you've got all this flavorful stuff that just makes the rest of your cooking better.
Which is another Sarah Weiss. I mean, why is she not doing this? She loves pickles, loves pickles.
You better.
You better subscribe on her.
Yeah. You better get on her phone and subscribe her.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh man, Pickle Brine! You can do so much good stuff with Pickle Brine too. The Pickle Brine in the jar, you can reuse it. You can mix it into sauces. You can put it into soups. There's like.
What's the easiest way to make a pickle brine?
Okay, so we call it the 1-to-1 to 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 cup of water, hot, it'll help dissolve the 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1 tablespoon of salt, and then 1 cup of vinegar. So I like to use like a rice vinegar. It's nice and mild, but apple cider vinegar works too. 1 cup water, 1 cup vinegar, 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 tablespoon salt. And then we just say taste it, and do you want it sweeter? Do you want it saltier? Do you want it more acidic? Go from there.
And does it matter what salt you use? Like just regular?
I use kosher salt.
Kosher salt.
I prefer Diamond Crystal if you want to really get specific.
We did have that conversation.
Yeah.
That's 2 more points in the Diamond Crystal category. There's been between Kevin Ruiz and Bobby McFarland, they've been debating about, and I want to say
Morton's stock is lowering.
Morton's salt is saltier. It's harder to use.
Yeah. What say you, everybody? What do you like, Morton's or Diamond Cut?
We got to put that up on a poll.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm curious. This goes to you, Irene. I noticed that in 2022, you were awarded the James Beard Leadership Award.
Whoop, whoop.
After 6 years of nominations and as a Rising Star Chef semifinalist. So for one, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And two, so what does that mean? What is now your new responsibility? What do you have to do now that you have received this leadership award?
I have to go to a party in Chicago that I'm super excited about. May will be there as well.
Oh, yeah. We're going to party in Chicago.
Yeah, I think that, for me, the Leadership Award is a really amazing kind of affirmation of what we've been through over the last 2 years at Mei Mei. I looked a lot less like a chef and did try to lead my team through COVID. And so it is a really incredible award. The list of awardees this year for the Leadership Award is really awesome. So I'm super excited to meet all of them. And, my hope is that we can take the kind of transparency and openness that we've always used for operating Mei Mei and continue to just share resources with other people in the industry. Like, this work is hard enough without people keeping secrets or, having a secret purveyor for this, or like, I'm not giving you my accountant's name, like that, like life's too short for that, basically. So I hope that, with growing my platform a little bit, I'll just be able to share more resources with folks. And I think the best part about this work is connecting and doing it over food and drink. And so that's really what it's all about for me.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and I just want to say, as a big sister brag, I'm super proud of the work that Irene has been doing. And from the very beginning, she always fought for things that were not typical in the industry. I loved your guys' episode with Ricky Moore. I also love his food, and who doesn't? So Irene has pioneered a really interesting thing. Irene, you want to talk about like open book management?
Yeah, so in 2018, we decided to implement open book management at Mei Mei. And open book is really common in like manufacturing industry and in technology, and really unusual in restaurants. Basically, the idea is we teach everybody in the business how to understand business operations and business finance. And then we show them the numbers so that they can actually understand what's happening like behind the curtain in the business. Then we ask them to help us improve the numbers, and then we reward them for any improvements they're able to help us make. And so this was all about wanting to invest more deeply in the team, wanting to be able to pay them more if the business could afford it, and to really make sure that they knew that like the boss and the workers aren't enemies. We don't have to be adversaries. We actually all need to work together if we're going to make our business successful. The profit margin for an independent restaurant in the US is somewhere between 3 and 5%. And that was before COVID. And so, we all have to pull in the same direction if we want to get anywhere. So for us with Open Book, we taught everyone in the restaurant, part-time students, dishwashers, everybody, how to understand a 5-line profit and loss statement, and then how to look at the numbers and try to kind of map it onto their own experience. So like if they saw a spike in revenue, they could say to themselves like, oh yeah, like I saw we did a ton of catering that month. And then every month we would look at the actual numbers. So they knew exactly how the business was performing. And it gave them all this context for why things in restaurants are tough, why things have to happen a certain way, why if someone like drops a gallon of maple syrup, I'm going to be a little pissed off because they actually know exactly how much that maple syrup costs. We did an activity where they went through the restaurant and they labeled the cost of every item that we purchase. So that box of Diamond Kosher crystal salt, the price was on it. And then, our maple syrup, the price is on it. Our napkins, the price is on it. And then our team would say like, that's like the cost of 5 Big Macs, or like, that's the cost of a Peppa Pig Supreme collaboration t-shirt. And so, you're trying to just provide context. And honestly, like restaurant workers deserve so much more than just being treated like a cog in the machine, right? So many people pass through the restaurant industry on their way to someone else. And we should really be teaching them more than just like how to chop an onion or how to bus a table. If they learn financial principles that can help them in their future job, or even like with their personal finances, that is something that I think we honestly owe to them because restaurant workers give so much of themselves to their job. So that was life-changing for me. And then in 2020, we actually opened our books to the public because we were like, we're doing all this bookkeeping work and like education. Like, why don't we just ask everybody if they want to come? And so we had a little seminar and we invited about 150 people and we showed them our entire profit and loss statement from 2019. And that was just, it was so fun. And honestly, for me, it felt like freeing. It was like, okay, I'm not keeping any secrets anymore. And also like, it invites conversation. So if somebody wants to know like, hey, like, why is that dish so expensive? I can tell them. And we've already had a conversation about it. And I can spell out for them like, no, you're not just paying for the ingredients on the plate. You're paying for that person to have health insurance and for that person to have good non-slip shoes that fit their feet. And for the toilet paper in the bathroom, which is an overhead expense, meaning we don't charge you for it. You can use as much as you want. You could probably smuggle a roll home in your purse if you wanted to, but that's free. But you don't think about that when you look at your plate and say, oh, I could have gone to the grocery store and made that, myself. And like, I think that consumers want to engage on this stuff more and more. They don't want everything happening behind the kitchen door to be kind of a secret.
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love all of that. It also like really puts your employee who's about to ask for a raise
Thinking the exact same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
right back in the seat. You're like, did you see what we made last week? Like, did you know what we've been doing?
Well, not even that. It's
But you're all on the
it's
same team.
It's an open conversation, right? Yeah. Oh, you want to raise? Okay, let's see where that money could come from.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you've seen the books, you've seen the
Right.
numbers. Where do you think that and how much do you think that we could afford?
And just think about like how much easier that conversation is when it's not like, oh, the boss is pulling in millions and is like driving a Lamborghini and I'm only making, X dollars an hour. It's like, oh, you have this in front of you. And like how empowering that is to have that information.
Totally.
Well, as we've many times, Matt and I have had this conversation with workers when we're at restaurants where it's like the manager or the owner makes far less than like the bartender.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, because you get to clock in, make tips, and leave, and it's like you don't have to pay all the sales tax and the whatever, like everything else. It's like, oh, okay, that's the way a business truly runs. And then it kind of takes away the
there's like
vision of the guy lighting $100 like
Right,
cigars with $100
exactly.
bills. It's like, no, this isn't really how it works. The only thing I would say is, now, if your business ever wanted to like expand more, you're so open and vulnerable that like banks are like, oh no, we know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no like dating the bank, and like projections. They're like, no, I know exactly how much money you've made. So
Totally.
this is that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the interesting things about open book is like transparency it's a tool. It's not like a state of being, right? You don't have to be open about every single thing. Like we never talked to the team about cash flow, for example. They didn't know what our balance sheet looked like. They knew everything that was relevant to operations. So a lot of other operators will come to me and say like, I want to do open book, but like, I don't want them to know about this, or like, I want to kind of steer away from that. And the truth is like, that's totally up to the operator. And so, if there are things that are either sensitive or just like too complicated, or like your banker is going to want to see, like you can keep that under wraps if you want. It's totally the operator's prerogative. And I think employees are just so impressed by any level of transparency. It's very
Like I assume you don't have everybody's paycheck stubs available for everyone to see.
No, but they understand that like, here's our starting wage and here's the structure for raises. And they all know what I make. And so, it opens a level of trust. And again, it's like, like if we have a problem, if you need to make more money, like let's solve this together. And let's see how, if we put our heads together instead of fighting over it, we can do something that helps everyone in the restaurant actually make more money.
That's super cool. I really like that. That's a new thought, at least, that we haven't had that conversation on this podcast before.
No, that is certainly showing leadership and innovation for sure.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, I do want to speak a little bit more about what you specifically do. And I know there have been a few articles that you have contributed in various magazines about, ways to reduce. I know there was one with the title 7 Ways to Reduce Food Waste from the chefs behind Boston's Mei Mei. And so maybe this is just a nice little moment at the end of the show where we can kind of give our listeners like a real useful way to have better practices in their in their home kitchen and just, like a quick, I know you guys are like, go buy the book.
It's okay. It's not out for another year anyway.
There
so.
you go. But as a little taster or a little taste test, what are a couple of great practices that we should all just immediately start doing?
Yeah, so one that goes from the restaurant industry to your home kitchen that Irene started in like the big walk-in at our restaurant was an Eat Me First box, and that is like the big box that you go, the chefs go to get the the onions that need to be used or the like cut garlic or whatever it is. You can put that in your fridge at home. So I used to have like lemon halves all over the back of my fridge that would mold there, but now I put them in a little box that's labeled my Eat Me First box, and I know that that's where I go to when there's like half a cut onion, and it kind of gathers those scraps together. And you guys know, like FIFO in restaurants, it means first in, first out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can use that. Don't. My kids always try to open like multiple boxes of cereal, and I'm like, you can't open that one until you get rid of the first one. Yeah. Like, put that down. So using that in your home kitchens is valuable too. And we talked about stocks before. Like restaurant chefs know to put all kinds of scraps and things into your kitchen stock, and now I keep a bag by the side of my cutting board when I'm prepping, and then I have a veggie scrap box or bag that I keep in my freezer, and it's got onion skins and the ends of scallions and garlic and pepper cores, and all of that makes for a much more flavorful and delicious meat or veggie stock, whatever I'm going to make with it. So that both saves things and makes my future food more delicious. So that's like a great combo. And the same thing, I do a smoothie bag. So like if you have small children who like to, eat half an apple and then leave the rest, all of those either scraps of fruit or like blueberries that are starting to wrinkle, you put them all into a smoothie bag, and then you've already got fruit ready to make a delicious smoothie.
Yeah, and you can freeze that, right?
Totally. So, just pop it all in your freezer. And those are all things that, provide both that combination of helping you to save money and waste less food, but also are just going to make your future meals that much better.
Okay, wait. The mics are off right now. Are you really doing all this?
Oh, yeah. should go come check out my freezer.
I know it's all nice to say, but come on. You're really doing all that?
I mean, it's so easy. It's like you just have a bag. You just pop all the stuff in it.
Oh, the mics are back on. Yeah.
I mean, I put a lot of food in the compost, too, and I'm like, let it go. It's fine. It's just going to go create good soil. It's totally okay. I appreciate the minimized guilt from the composting. But, yeah, I totally do all this stuff, and then I also throw stuff out, and it's, it's totally okay.
Do you have compostable bags that you put this in?
I do. I have compostable bags, and I have reusable like silicone bags. But I also have plastic bags in my kitchen. It happens, and I just try to rinse them and reuse them.
And I think that what is really important about this is like you're setting yourself up for success, right? Like you fill the smoothie bag a little bit over time, or you accumulate some pickles that you made, and now you have all this pickle brine that's going to make your sauce really delicious. Like you don't have to go from 0 to 100. And there are small things that you can do. And like, I don't know, I think I get sort of fits of fancy at like 10 p.m. where I'm like, I'm going to change the way I do everything in my kitchen. And the way that Mei kind of presents all of this is like, you don't have to do it all. Just like pick the one thing that makes sense for you and start. And then the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And I just feel like that's such a sustainable approach to building good habits. So I'm trying to take a little bit more of her style and apply it in my own home kitchen, which I am now, well reacquainted with.
Yeah, but you don't know Max Trujillo that well, and he's going to go home tonight and be like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to make the smoothie bag. I'm going to do the pickle brine. I'm going to do the meat scraps.
I can't wait to see it.
For like 10 days.
For like 10 days. And then you go completely back the other way.
Then Taco Bell, here I come. It's like, it's in my moment right now. It's what the beautiful part about this podcast is like whatever episode we released, that's the life I'm living. On to the next.
That's so true.
I'm just kidding. But there are some things that stick around and hold on. But this is great.
Yeah. I just have one last question. Mei, since we are the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, you came here. How did you get to Raleigh?
So my husband works for Epic Games.
Oh, cool.
So we moved for his job.
Oh, right nice.
On.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some of those. I bet I know his boss because I know one of the guys that owns Epic Games, and he drives a cool car.
Yeah, some very fancy cars in that parking lot.
Maybe the new Epic Games campus, which is going to be there in Cary that they took over, can institute some of your practices.
Already
with
been thinking
composting.
about that
yeah.
for sure. I really
Awesome.
hope that they try to incorporate some sustainable practices in the new campus for sure.
Epic Games, they do, what's the
They do Fortnite.
Fortnite. That's the one that everybody
Yeah.
goes nuts about. Yeah. That's so crazy. Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, thank you both for giving us your time. We look
This
forward.
was super fun.
Yeah, we look forward to when your book comes out. When it does come out, let us know. Let us know when it comes out. Jump back on the show. Let's see what you're doing. I'd love a follow up with this. We can see how Matt's composting has done over that amount of time until it comes back.
That's right.
By the way, I know a perfect shirt that you guys could make. I'll have to cut this out because it's super dirty. But the Eat Me First box should definitely be
Oh, yeah.
a T-shirt that you could give to Sarah to walk around with around the neighborhood.
She would love that.
Oh yeah, definitely. But
That has not occurred to me. Perhaps I should change the name of that.
maybe if it was Eat This Box
Yeah,
First.
eat this box first. But yeah, you guys should come over for dinner, and I'm gonna open my freezer and show you the receipts, all the smoothie bags and stock bags.
I love it.
All
Done and
hanging out
done.
in there.
That's perfect. Well, thank you, Matt. What do you got? Before we get out of here, we got to make sure that when you're doing all these things and you're saving all of your urban products and you're making these meals, you got to pair it right. You got to put something to pair with everything. I was trying to think about like what goes really well with like traditional Chinese food, but regardless, you guys you're cooking everything, regardless of it being dumplings or so. But what I'm getting at is Triangle Wine Company. They have 4 locations, and their flagship is right there, not too far from the H Mart,
Yeah.
out there in the Waverly Place in Cary. But then you can
I shop there.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really great place.
It's a great spot.
They have amazing wine. They have a little bar. You can sit down, pour a pint of beer, glass of wine, talk with friendly people behind the bar, learn a little bit. This is the engagement that you need when you're building your menu for the night, for the week, however you want to do. But you go to Triangle Wine Company, both in Southern Pines, in Cary, up in North Raleigh, in Morrisville,
Holly Springs.
and Holly Springs, where Matt lives. And so go to trianglewineco.com for more information. And you can shop online. And if you do, you can enter the NCFB promo code for a nice little discount.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then our friends at Proof, they discovered how to not waste their alcohol or their dessert, and they just all put it together. So maybe that's like a sustainable practice in some ways that you could put your
Genius.
alcohol in your
love it.
dessert. But think differently about dessert like they do at Proof Alcohol Ice Cream. And coming back to the area, you'll be able to find them in your Harris Teeter's,
Outside of
Lowe's,
NC,
and Triangle Wine
maybe
Co.
up in Boston, you might be able to buy it because they don't have ridiculous, archaic, old school Bible Belt laws about liquor.
Man.
but we are
It's going to
fixing
be
that.
changing soon.
And then lastly, and we've talked about this previously in the show, but at Bubbles and Brisket this year, we will be using all compostable forks, knives,
Awesome. Yes.
plateware, the
Super
whole thing.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
and maybe we can figure something out about how we can compost all the waste there. Maybe
Well,
you
we've
can.
hired a team of waste eaters.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So
Yes.
before you throw things away,
The
Yes.
organic way
give
to
it to this
Yeah.
guy. He'll finish off the plate.
Nice.
Maybe we do that more often.
They get a discounted ticket.
Super sustainable.
not gonna
I'm
do
just
some-
going to eat it all.
You're not going to eat that?
Yeah.
I'll finish
Oh,
that.
you don't like that part of your plate?
Yeah.
But this has been great. So everybody, go and check out Food Waste Feast. And once you do that and learn how to be more sustainable, not only will you live better, but you will eat and drink very merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NCFB podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.